Pedro from A&P-REACTS. I'm here today with Jari of Wintersun, not to talk about Wintersun, but to talk about Jari and to talk about the 5 most influential guitar players in his life, in his career. How's it going?
Oh, good. Thank you. How are you, man?
I'm good. I'm good. Thanks for taking the time to chat with me about your most influential guitar players.
For sure. I love guitar playing and
and
talking about guitar players.
Yeah, and before we even start talking about who those guitar players are and why each one of them was important for you, let me ask you this. When did you start playing guitar?
It was around when I was 14 or 15. My friend Oliver, who used to play drums for A&P-REACTS, he's also a guitar player. So he got a guitar first, and he had this small amp. I don't remember what amp it was, maybe Marshall. And he played these Metallica riffs like Enter Sandman and Master of Puppets. I was like, holy shit, that sounds so cool. I want to do that as well. And actually my father was also a guitar player, and he didn't write music, but he did a lot of cover songs and played a few gigs here and there. And he also sang. And he had actually built me like a semi-acoustic guitar as a birthday when I was a small kid. But I always hated playing that instrument because it just hurt my fingers and it was so difficult. But when I heard those Metallica riffs played by Oliver, I was like, God damn it, I've never thought of guitar sounding like that way. Mm-hmm. So that got me interested into guitar playing and metal music. So I picked up that guitar that my father had built and just started practicing those riffs. Enter Sandman, Welcome Home, Sanitarium, and
wow,
basically Metallica first.
Wow, that's really cool. Like, did you take any lessons at all, or did you learn from other people around you, or just on your own?
Mostly it was on my own, but there was a few years when I took like private lessons. I can't remember the guy's name, but I just used to take a long bus trip to the center of the Helsinki city, and he had a small place there. Also, a few of my friends also went to his lessons, and yeah, just a few years, just very basic stuff. And he had a lot of always like a lot of guitar magazines, and then we learned some songs and riffs from those as well. And I learned some classical stuff, and that he had like tablature books for them.
How long did it take you, do you feel, from that time that you discovered those Metallica riffs to the time where you felt like, you know, I can start making some stuff on my own? Did it take a long period of time, or was it short?
I would say quite short, actually, maybe a year or two, because my father had also this 4-track tape recording machine, and he lent it to me, and that always fascinated me, like multi-track recording. You know, you record one track and then you play on top of that track and then you play on top of those 2 tracks. So I immediately kind of was fascinated about recording music, and because I had that 4-track, I wanted to do something on my own. So I just started doing like my first song was this very basic Joe Satriani kind of instrumental guitar style song, very like a summer kind of. Joe Satriani has summer song, I think, yeah, summer song, and it was mostly like that sort of kind of like what's the mode, like Mixolydian mode, kind of happy song.
Had a happy vibe to it. Yeah. Moving into your top 5 most influential guitar players, let's start at number 5 with Vinnie Moore. Some of the names surprised me, some of the names didn't. Vinnie Moore was a little bit of a surprise. Like, when did you discover Vinnie Moore?
Well, I discovered him from these VHS tapes. I was always running around in libraries, and they had these guitar instructional tapes, and Vinnie Moore was there, and I was instantly like very fascinated about his playing and his kind of he had both like neoclassical Yngwie Malmsteen style and like also like more rock bluesy kind of stuff. So he was very influential to me from those tapes, and I was very fascinated about sweep picking also, and he had a very clean like sweep picking technique. So that's what I wanted to do. And also he was the guy who first taught me the different guitar, well, the scale modes, like Lydian, Phrygian, Mixolydian, whatever. I can't even remember them anymore. But that sort of thing really fascinated me. Like you can just changing few notes in a scale, you can make you feel very different things. Like this one mode can make you feel like space and like sci-fi and those kind of movies, and they use that mode a lot. I think it's Lydian maybe. And then there's other like bluesy style and like very Middle Eastern Egyptian kind of scales, and that always fascinated me. Like how those different kind of notes can make you feel.
So did you look at him almost like and try to take all the things that he had and emulate those things, or you try to learn from those details and then kind of start to incorporate your own little take on it?
Yes, little by little I started to incorporate things, but first it's always kind of, you just play what they play and try to play along. But then little by little you start to understand the things, and when you are composing your own music, you can kind of start to incorporate those influences and modes and different things.
Wow, very interesting.
You know, for example, Wintersun is mostly based on like on basic minor, but there's here and there in the songs. Let's say, for example, Land of Snow and Sorrow, there's the bridge section. It goes to this kind of Lydian sci-fi space kind of mode, which is kind of major. It's not minor, and it kind of gives a different feeling to that part. So I always liked, and it's also the mode that David Townsend uses a lot. I'm a big fan of David Townsend as well. So I love to incorporate different feelings into the song, and using those modes can really help a lot.
Was Vinnie Moore the guy that really introduced you to that style, to that approach of changing those modes to create those different atmospheres within the songs?
Yeah, I think so. He really opened my eyes to it, because on this one tape, how he taught it, he just played one synth, like drone note, and then he improvised on top of that one note, and he just changed the mode, and the whole feeling just changed totally, and I was blown away by that.
How young were you when you discovered him and when you were watching those tapes?
Probably 16, 17, 18, somewhere around that.
So that had a start early on then.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, I ran around libraries trying to find these tapes, and also bought a few of them. But I think Vinnie Moore they always had his tapes there. So I don't know, maybe just, I don't know who imports those, imported those tapes here into Finland. So I don't know.
Yeah, maybe he had a deal with the libraries where they always had to carry his tapes.
I don't know, maybe.
The next name on your list is Paul Gilbert. Interesting choice. What about Paul Gilbert that had an impact on you?
With Paul Gilbert, it was mostly like picking technique and like aggression to the kind of shredding style. I think the first time I heard Paul Gilbert could have been, 'cause there was this music shop in Helsinki called Fazer Music. Well, Fazer is also a very famous Finnish chocolate brand, but this was called Fazer Music. And they always had this TV, like a shelf and TV, and then there was lots of these guitar instructional videos, and there was always some of those tapes playing. And I could have seen Paul Gilbert first time on that TV, or then it could have been, because there was this one Mr. Big show on TV, and I recorded that with my VHS player, and I used to watch that concert all the time. I think it's the famous concert from San Francisco, maybe. And they had lots of these guitar solo sections, and they played with the trills and stuff like that. So that really blew my mind. And his technique was just insane. The things he did on the stage and on those tapes.
Did you, when you were watching that stuff, did you not pause it, but were you almost fast forwarding to the guitar part so that you could like analyze all the details of what he was doing with the guitar, so that you could like learn and then try to emulate it at the same time?
Yeah, for sure. There was some rewinding going on. But you couldn't really slow that down with the old technology.
Yeah, with the old VHS was really rough.
Yeah. So those instructional videos really helped a lot, and he had a great teaching style. Like I don't know how to describe it, like, but very clear how he would pick the notes and how to boil things down to a smaller parts and start smaller, then kind of expand. So that kind of teaching really helped me a lot. And,
so
is
that important? Is that important for you to learn from a good guitar player? Is it important for the guitar player to also be a good teacher? Because you could be a great guitar player. That doesn't mean you're really good at teaching what you're doing. You could know how to do it, but maybe you're not really good at passing it on.
I don't know, maybe. I think yes, because you have to learn yourself. So you gotta have also a kind of mentality to make these longer kind of sections and make it so that you can learn yourself. For me, the best how to learn is just break it down to smaller sections and then put them together. So like, and Paul Gilbert really taught me that kind of style. Just play the few notes, just keep repeating it until you got it like fast. Then take a little longer section and do that over and over and over again. So that sort of learning.
It's all about repetition.
I would say yes, but also, well, yeah, technique-wise, I would say. But there's much more to learn about guitar playing than just technique, the melody, and what notes to use.
Could you be how can I put this? Could you be poorly or maybe not really well defined technically as a guitar player and still be a great guitar player?
Absolutely. I mean, what is, good guitar playing? And, if you're only talking about technique, for sure you can maybe put people in some sort of pecking order. But Kurt Cobain, for example, I think he was a good guitar player. Not technique-wise, probably, but, he did something with his instrument. Like he made killer songs with that. So to me, guitar playing is just not about the technique.
There's definitely more to it.
Yeah. I mean, it's if you can, make people feel something with your playing, I think that's the most important thing. Sometimes, fast licks can make people feel something. Certainly in the past, they made me feel like, wow, that's killer. That's insane. I want to do that too. But for music wise, it's different feelings. You think about a lot of other stuff than just the technique.
Yeah, makes sense. Next year on your list is Marty Friedman. I'm a big fan of Marty Friedman. What about Marty Friedman, and when did you discover him as a guitar player?
I think I discovered him first from the Megadeth's Countdown to Extinction album. But yeah, probably. But his playing really taught me like how different notes make you feel, and especially when you think about the notes on top of a chord, because when you play a chord, there's the basic scale, but then when you play any note from the scale, you gotta really think about how it makes you feel, and when you change the chord, you gotta think about what note you're gonna land, and because sometimes certain notes probably not necessarily always work that well, and some notes work better with other chords, and all the notes have like and how you put them together, they can make you feel different things. So Marty Friedman had also this instructional video, I think it was like exotic guitar playing or something. So he really taught me how to like think about how to feel like when a certain note hits on top of some chord. And I really love his kind of exotic style, and he's got this kind of crazy like Asian style phrases and uses all these kind of Japanese or Chinese kind of scales.
Yeah,
I really love that Asian influence.
Yeah, he's a very exotic style playing guitar player. I remember I discovered Marty Friedman as you through Megadeth, and a friend of mine was a guitar player, and I remember listening to Countdown to Extinction, and he's like, dude, that band has the best guitar player in the world. And I was like, really? Like Dave Masteen? And he's like, no, man, Marty Friedman. And that's how I started to really appreciate how good he was. And then obviously I went back to Rust in Peace to really hear that album. And the more I hear those records, those Megadeth records with Marty Friedman, the more I appreciate how good of a guitar player he is and what he added to that sound. He's just a phenomenal guitar player.
Yeah, for sure. But for me, I wasn't that focused actually first at the Megadeth's, those Megadeth albums, guitar solos. Although they were very good, but I was already listening to like other guitar players. So they were killer solos, but they weren't like the absolute shredding that there already was that I was listening to. But then when I went to listen to Marty's, like those first solo albums, Dragon's Kiss, I was like, wow, okay, this is next level shit. that stuff really blew me away. And that album is great even like without the solos, because there's just killer melodies and killer riffs all the time. And after that, he made the album Scenes. First, I wasn't that happy about it because I was expecting more heavy, because it was mostly like clean guitar and this like a lot of ambient synths. But later, I really like started to appreciate that album. It's like one of my favorite albums, like ever.
Do you find that he's a guitar player that is better suited for his own solo stuff? Do you feel like with Megadeth he was a little bit restrained to what the band needed out of him?
Maybe, yes. I think he's more flourishing in his own stuff than he was in Megadeth. Although those Megadeth solos are killer too.
Yeah, and those albums are phenomenal. But I think perhaps with his solo stuff he has more freedom. You know what I mean? Like he's not not in a box. Like with Megadeth, there's only so much he can do. There's only so much juice.
So much time in there.
Yeah, there's only so much juice you can squeeze out of him in Megadeth that it's still Megadeth at the end of the day. Do you know what I mean? Like you have to keep that Megadeth sound the way they want it to be. So I think on his own, he has absolutely zero borders. Like he can do whatever he wants, and that allows him to be more free and more creative.
Yeah, I agree.
Next on your list is I knew this name was going to be on the list. Indy Malmsteen. I mean, how is that? Like I was even before you sent me the list, I'm like, this name has to be on the list.
Yeah, for sure.
What do you have to say about the great Indy Malmsteen?
More is more. Well, he was probably the second. Well, he was the second guitar player that really blew me away. I didn't know anything about him. I just went to this Fatser music place to listen and discover some CDs and bands and new players. And there was Yngwie Malmsteen's Fire and Ice CD. I picked up, what the hell is this? Looks kind of cool. And they had these kind of CD players that you can listen to the CD for a while. And I went to listen to it. The first song was Perpetual. Really, it's like I've never heard anything like that, and it really blew me away. Like this neoclassical sounded kind of dark and ominous, but still like very melodic and cool. And then I put the title track Fire and Ice and the sweep section in the beginning of the song. Like mind blown. Like how the hell can anyone play like that? Never heard. That kind of also started for me kind of my sweep obsession. So I wanted to learn that how the hell can you play notes that fast.
It's really incredible. Have you with that experience that at that point in time and with your obsession, do you feel like you're close to that goal, or it's that goal unattainable to ever play like that?
Yeah, it's unobtainable, but I have my own style. I'm happy with my sweep picking and technique, but of course there's always new stuff to learn. But you cannot play like Yngwie. He's like very original player.
Yeah,
I just became a big fan of him, and I really started enjoying his songs as well. He has written a lot of good songs.
Have you had a chance to see him live? Have you seen him live?
Actually, no.
Well, yeah, I haven't seen him live either, but that's definitely something that I want to have a chance to check him out live. Is he one of those guys that he's so good at what he does that if you're a young guitar player and you wanted to get into guitar playing, perhaps he's not the best guy to emulate because you're going to be so frustrated that you're not as good as he is?
Maybe it could be to some, but I was just like I really enjoyed the music and the riffs and the solos, so I really wanted to learn that stuff. But yeah, now that you said it, I can remember it was kind of difficult to learn those solos, so it was sometimes quite frustrating, especially to learn the sweep picking.
What about it that what do you see in his technique? Is it the speed that makes it really hard to emulate his style, or does he have a very specific approach that makes it difficult?
Well, it's probably his picking technique and how he just approaches the scales, because I don't think anyone even at this day knows how he plays. But he has like a mix of, I think, like economic picking, and sometimes he plays legato and sometimes he picks the notes. So it's kind of hard to emulate that kind of playing, and I think he uses very thin strings and these scalloped frets and Fender guitars. So he's like a very original style, because there was never any like good instructional videos like how he plays, or at least I couldn't find. And mostly I had many of his tablature books, but a lot of those books, the tablatures were wrong, and you can never tell the technique from those tablature books, how he really played this stuff. So you just had to like play it with your own style, pick all the notes, or do legato, or just kind of try to find your own way.
Yeah, I would think it would be hard to get the idea of his style, the idea of his approach from a book. You really need to see his hands. You really need to see him playing in order for you to get the full understanding of exactly. I mean, even after you see his hands and you see him playing, you still don't really get the full scope of what he's doing. He's really in a bubble of his own.
And I kind of enjoy that kind of how it used to be. Like there was lots of different guitar players with their own styles and their own weird techniques that were sort of wrong, but so right. But nowadays, because there's so much information, everyone can kind of learn how to play correctly, to have the right picking style and stuff like that. So nowadays it's kind of more like everybody plays correctly, and there's like maybe not so much diversity. Of course, there's still a lot of diversity because there's a lot of more guitar players, but I really enjoy when there's like these weird kind of techniques and guitar players. Even Marty Friedman, his picking techniques is really weird.
Yeah.
And all those different kind of techniques is kind of makes you original and makes your sound original and fascinating.
Yeah, that's true, and that's what makes it special. Do you see it now with the advancement of technology, internet, all of these things? You don't have to go to a library to look for tapes anymore. Like it's much easier for you to pick at people. Does that help or does that hurt? Because it takes away a little bit of your own creativity in order for you to kind of let your imagination run free. Because when you're looking at those books from Indy, you don't have videos. So you kind of have to read the book and then use your imagination to kind of create what you think is going to work, but also what's going to work for you as a guitar player. Now, with everything at your disposal, your imagination is, you don't need it anymore. You can just look at it and then just copy it. Do you think that is hurting music and guitar playing in general?
Yeah, I've thought about that. Like there's so much information, maybe too much information. So maybe it can be for some people like overwhelming, like where should I put my focus and what should I learn, because you can learn everything basically. So, but when I think about it, like there's so much killer guitar players coming all the time, like more than ever. And I think people are, because of the information, people are learning guitar much faster than it used to be. And the level is going up all the time, I think. At least technique wise. But I think it's good that you that you focus on something that you really like. If you like some style or whatever, it might be neoclassical or whatever, focus on that for a while and decide what you really love and what is your thing, and then maybe go that way. If you just learn, it's good to learn a little bit about everything, but if that's all you do and you don't focus on any sort of, you don't take any particular road, then you kind of sort of trick, what is the phrase? Like tricks of all trades, but master of none.
None. Yeah. I hear you. You're good at, you know how to do a little bit of everything, but you're not really good at one thing. You know.
Yeah.
So, and that could be a problem.
Yeah, I have to say I might have a little bit of that. Because I really love to learn about everything. And,
I feel like you're a guy that you're always looking at improving. You're always looking at what's the new thing out there. Let me see what's all about. So you have this insatiable need for knowledge.
Yeah, for sure.
And for me, that's not necessarily a bad thing, because you're always looking at where things can go. But at the same time, I feel like you're somebody who also understands what you really like. So you find always a way to kind of divide your attention between the new learning and the things that you really enjoy doing.
Yeah, I think learning equals happiness.
Yeah.
It's really satisfying to learn new things and just get a kick out of it. So,
And
yeah,
it keeps you moving.
Yeah. I always, learning guitar sometimes, well, learning anything can sometimes be frustrating, but when you learn it, it's really rewarding and you feel great.
Do you ever feel like is guitar an instrument, or perhaps any instrument, but with guitar specifically, do you feel like nobody ever reaches the point where they know everything? There's always room to add one more weapon to your arsenal.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the level of guitar playing these days, like, kind of depresses me. Like, I need to get practicing again.
That was going to be my next question. I mean, you don't do as much guitar playing live with Wintersun anymore because you're singing. But
I'm not doing it at all.
At all, exactly.
Actually, a little bit.
But
well, like in Canada, I did the kind of ending solo because Asim.
Asim wasn't on the trip, so you did a little bit. But now
I'm not Sleeping Star. I do the trick.
Yeah.
Playing both of their guitars.
Both of their guitars, and I know, like, backstage you still warm up, you still play a little bit with the guitar, you still fool around with it. But knowing that you're not playing live, do you still spend a lot of time playing guitar? Is it still like something that it consumes a huge amount of your time?
I have kind of my periods. Like, sometimes I play really a lot, and sometimes I don't. Actually, this year I haven't played a lot at all. I've been mostly like on making music mode and mixing mode. So it's sometimes hard because I'm wearing so many hats, like mixing, mastering, making music, singing. But yeah, I always have a guitar nearby, and I pick it up, and usually I have always some sort of new technique that I'm working on and trying to get better at it.
With the way you approach music with Wintersun, before we talk about number one, is a guitar a starting point for you, or not really, when you're creating a new song?
Well, most of the time it is. I would say maybe 80 or 90% of the time. Guitar is the first thing. Like, I just sit on the sofa and try to come up with riffs or play chords and hum along with the chords, trying to find a melody. So that's the basic way. And when I find something interesting, I just record it to my iPhone, and then I categorize them to my computer riff library. And then later I start to go back there and listen to them and open up a Cubase project. And nowadays it's really, really cool because there's this Odin guitar sampler made by Solemn Tones, and I use that for composing. So you don't have to record when you're demoing the song. You don't have to record the riffs all the time and then record it again and again when you need to change a couple of notes. You can just use the MIDI, and the MIDI guitar sounds actually killer. I've fooled a lot of people like it's a real guitar.
Oh, they think it's a real guitar. Is that good, eh?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
But when you tell them, then they can start to notice, oh yeah, I can hear it's MIDI.
Yeah.
But it's a really good composing tool. Yeah.
That's
I forgot where I was.
No, it's just about using the guitar as a tool as a starting point for the creation of the songs. Because I always wonder about that. And then when you're creating those songs, are you sometimes like, you trigger yourself into, I've been working on this new technique. Is there a way I can introduce this new technique into this song, or you stay away from it when you're composing a new track?
Like for solos, like I have this new technique and I want to put it into a solo. Yeah, sure. Yeah, for sure. In the past, it used to be more like that, but today it's more like, first I try to come up with, well, there's the solo part. There can be some sort of chords there, and then I just start to improvise on top of that chord structure or whatever is underneath. And then I first get some sort of idea where there should be like a fast fed part, or this section should have some melody or whatever. And then when I know kind of a sort of how everything should go on the solo, then I can start to fine tune it and go more onto the techniques that I've learned and put new techniques or old techniques, whatever fits the best.
Mm-hmm. With the solos, as a guitar player, do you feel that? I always feel. Let me explain to you how I feel about the solo. I always want the solo on a song to add something to the song, to be not just a continuation of the song, but to have an impact on how the song feels, on how the song feels at that moment, and then what are you going to get from the track afterwards. I'm not a huge fan of just having a guitar solo on a song for the sake of having a guitar solo. Like it's a metal song, therefore I have to put a guitar solo here. You know what I mean? I want the solo to mean something, to be a part of the song, to add something to the song. Do you see?
For me as well.
For you as well?
Yeah. For me, it's like I'd rather have no solo than like there should be like a killer guitar solo. Like I think it comes from when I first heard like Judas Priest, the solos from Painkiller and Ram It Down. I really like that sort of like longer and crazy solos. But I never like you said, I don't like if there's just a solo, small solo that we just put it there because it's kind of thing that you do.
Yeah.
I think if you want to do a solo, make it like really killer, like you should do with the rest of the song.
It feels almost like you're building a song by numbers. You know what I mean? Like, here's the verses, here's the chorus, verses, chorus. Oh, I have to put a solo here now. I don't feel like that adds anything to the song at all. Like the solo needs to be an extension of how the song feels. You're playing the song, it gets to that point, and this is what comes out. There's a little bit of that now. And I feel like a lot of bands these days are don't necessarily look at the solos from that perspective. They look at the solos just as another piece of the song and not allowing the solo to be an outburst of where the song has taken you so far.
Yeah. Well, like you can hear for Wintersun, there's not solos in every song. And whenever there's a solo in a song, it's usually like pretty highlighted and crazy or whatever.
Over the top.
Whenever I do a solo, I just want it to be special.
Yeah, and I think that's how it has to be. That's how it has to be.
Yeah. So I don't want to do a solo if it's not gonna be special. It's just gonna be like filler or something.
Yeah, I agree with you. So back to your list, and finally at number 1, Stevie Vai.
Hell yeah. Well, he was the kind of the first guy, like, made me think like, wow, this is a guitar god. Like I first heard Passion and Warfare, and that album is just amazing. It's like God made it. I don't know how to describe it when I first heard it, but that really like blew my mind. And I still feel that way about Steve. I mean, I think he's the most original player there is ever has been, and his sound, and because his playing doesn't even sound like guitar. And my philosophy has always been like I don't really like how guitar sounds, but when guitar doesn't sound like a guitar, that's what I like. So for me, like Steve Vai's playing doesn't sound like guitar, and also like Metallica's rhythm guitars or Pantera's rhythm guitars doesn't sound like a guitar to me. So that's what I love. So how to make the guitar sound like out of this world.
And he did it for you.
Yeah, his sound, his playing, like, is totally out of this world.
Is there something specific about his approach that you've incorporated in how you play, or you just like the overall soundscape that he creates with a guitar?
For sure, I have influences his phrasing and licks and legatos and tapping, and because I've studied him and tried to learn his stuff a lot. But yeah, he of course he's only like Steve Vai. He's not Yngwie Malmsteen or other players, but he just does it for me. Like his just sound and like style is so original. Like he sounds like an alien, so to speak. And that's what I love, because I don't like, I like things that are out of this world. I like sci-fi things, and Steve was playing sounds like a sci-fi movie.
Yeah.
But if you boil it down, it's a lot of his use of like phrasing and his use of the modes, and also again I think the Lydian mode, if I'm correct, you know, the Devin Townsend mode also, which sounds very sci-fi. And also how he plays live, like how he moves and makes a show of his playing. Also like a really cool showman. I actually just saw him this year in January when we were at NAMM with Teemu. So we got these tickets to his show, and again we were both mind blown.
Have you met him in person or no?
Yeah, we met him at after the show. Like he just came out and took photos with people, and we got a photo. So it was really cool.
Wow, that must have been quite the evening.
Yeah, it was one of the best.
Did you ask him any questions? Like, did you ask him any technical questions or any guitar playing questions, or are you just like, I'm just gonna absorb this moment as a fan, take my picture, and walk away?
There was little chit chat, but I can't remember. I was so so starstruck maybe, so I don't remember anymore.
Yeah, because that's a great opportunity to ask a few little hints or a few little tips.
Yeah, but there was also so many people wanting to take a photo.
Yeah. You don't have all
I actually had to kind of rush at the last minute. Get out of here, my turn.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Oh, that's hilarious. Now you know how fans feel when they want to get a picture with you.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm a fan of a lot of people. So yeah.
From all the 5 guitar players that we've talked about, if you had to pick one that perhaps you've become over the years, you've become more of that one player, which one of these 5 do you think you're closer to?
Well, I would say it's Steve Vai. Yeah. Although I have my own style, and my own style has kind of developed from many different players. And you can, if you pay attention, you can definitely hear all the influences. But here and there, I think I have a little bit of my own style as well. And the more you play and more you make your own music, the more your own style develops.
That's interesting, because then the last question I have for you is, as a guitar player, as a musician, and as somebody who emulated other guitar players and other musicians, when you hear now a guitar player perhaps emulating you, or a band emulating a little bit of Wintersun, of what Wintersun has achieved and what Wintersun has done, how do you see that? Do you see that as a positive? Do you see that as a negative? Are you like, just make your own music and stop trying to sound like us? Like, how do you feel about it? Because at the end of the day, everybody learned from somebody, and everybody's influenced by somebody else. And I mean, it's not like we're all reinventing the wheel, if you will, right? So how do you feel about that? How do you feel about when you hear a player that either sounds like you or tries to play like you, or a band that sounds like Wintersun or tries to be a little bit of Wintersun?
I feel good. It's I feel like honored. I mean, it's really, really cool, I have to say. It's like I can't find the words. I just feel like I've done something in the world that other people enjoy and get a kick out of, and that makes me feel good. And I know, you know, like you said, like every band and every artist, they can sound like the bands that they like, and of course I sounded like many other bands at first, but the more you just do it, the more you kind of discover your own thing.
Mm-hmm. So you can see that progression.
Yeah, but as an honorable mention, I have to say, because this was mostly like focused on shredding and shred players, but I would say James Hetfield definitely.
Well, you know what? I'm glad you brought up James Hetfield. So let's finish off on the James Hetfield note here. All right.
Yeah.
So I've done this chat with two other guitar players. I've had this chat with Doc Coyle and Crangham Lum of Heathen, and he also plays for Exodus. Both guys had James Hetfield either a number 1 or a number 2 on their list as far as guitar players that really influenced their style, their playing. And both guys said that he's not the greatest guitar player as far as technique is concerned. Like, he's not technically sound, but he's a great guitar player. And when I think of Metallica as a fan, as somebody who doesn't play guitar, when I think of Metallica, I always think Kirk Hammett, best guitar player on the band. I never think James Hetfield. You know what I mean? Like, and meanwhile, 3 out of 3 go and mention James Hetfield. What about James Hetfield?
His rhythm playing is just well, he's a legend. He's down picking as a rhythm player, and I really love his kind of sound and a kind of a philosophy, how you make songs and how you it's hard to describe, like how you put all those palm mute notes together, and it's like very tight. Like, it's not like playing like chords, like crunch stuff or something like that, but it's very like tight, like almost like techno music, sort of. It's very robotic, kind of, and I like that kind of tight kind of music, and kind of how to say it? Well, tight notes.
Mm-hmm.
And his well, yeah, his rhythm playing, it's hard to describe. Shit. Well, to me, he's just the best when it comes to rhythm playing. I mean, when you start to think about who makes the best kind of he was like the father of like that sort of like tight rhythm down picking style, to me at least.
Oh, it's really interesting. I think fans have a different appreciation, right? So we look at different things, and perhaps we don't appreciate the value that he has as a guitar player as much as guitar players do, because you guys know exactly what you're looking at, and you know what to look for, so you're looking at something else. Fans were looking at different things, and we don't perhaps appreciate it. Since start doing these chats about guitar players, I've gotten to appreciate him more, because I'm like, maybe I've been looking at this guy wrong the whole time. Like, I haven't really been paying attention to how good he really is. Because like I said, everybody looks at Kirk Hammett.
It's whenever like I record rhythm guitars. Well, I record the first guitar, of course, first. But when I record the second guitar, I just really want it to be like really tightly recorded. And that comes from James Hetfield. Because that tightness is in rhythm guitar playing is what I love.
He's definitely the master at that.
Yeah.
Wow, it's really interesting, man. That really blows me away. Like James Hetfield, wow.
And I don't understand how he gets those guitar sounds, especially on the Black album. Like, that's crazy.
I don't even know how
there's never been a sound like that.
I don't know how he does it live. Like, I mean, he still has to sing the songs.
Yeah, that's what it's crazy, and he's, you know, not getting any younger, and he still does a killer job.
Yeah.
Like,
incredible. I mean, I saw them a couple of years ago. I think 2018. I saw them live. Man, they play as good as they did, like, I don't know, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. Like, they seem to be getting better with age.
yeah, I mean, he's just a savage. I mean, I'm in my 40s now, and like, holy shit! Like, when I'm in my 60s, definitely, I think I couldn't do that. But I mean, he's just done it over and over his whole life. So that's what he's focused on.
Yeah, it probably becomes a second nature, right? Like, you don't even think about it anymore. You just do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the case with him.
That's the only way to learn. Just lots of repetition.
Lots of repetition. Well, Jari, thank you very much for your time today. I really appreciate it. This was a great chat about your top 5 most influential guitar players, with a little bit of an add-on of James Hadfield there at the end, which that was really cool.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for your time, and
Thank you.
we'll chat again soon. We'll do another one of these about something else.
Yeah.
We'll have another chat soon.
Yeah. Thank you. Let's do it.
All right. Thanks.
All right. See you.